So make sure to give us a follow at ESB Podcast on Twitter. But we're going to continue, and I'll keep this going here because we were supposed to talk about this last week on the show, Joe, about one of our polls that went out on opening week.
Yes.
So
we posed the question to our fans: should more stadiums have retractable roofs, especially in northern climates? Mets were rained out tonight. There has been, actually, surprisingly, you would think the number is more. There has been 10 postponed baseball games due to weather so far this year, and we are a little over 2 weeks into the season. So, obviously, Rich, I think, do you have the poll results of what we ran?
I mean, I don't have it on me, but it was a lot of yes to no.
So that's a bad job by Rich. But
I'll
open this up.
Rich,
I'll start with Corey while Rich searches for the poll results. I'll start with Corey and what you think we should do about all these weather rainouts and whether or not you think more stadiums should have retractable.
12-2. 12-2.
Listen, I'll tell you what, if you live in Florida like myself, you're always going to want that stadium, man, because you get those afternoon rainstorms every day. Always happens, especially in the summer. But listen, baseball itself should not be played before April 15th. I'm sorry. You're starting March baseball in New York. Come on now. It rains all the time. You could get a blizzard. How many times have we seen blizzards? The Twins.
Detroit.
What are you doing? What are you doing, the Twins? You just built a new stadium. You had a dome. Granted, it was a terrible dome. But what are you doing? You're getting blizzards there in March. I don't get it. Listen, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, obviously you can't put a retractable roof on an existing stadium. It's way too much money. So you have to build a new stadium with it. You're not going to retrofit an existing one.
Correct.
It's way too absurd from a logistical standpoint.
Right.
If you're in the North, I would do it. Your stadium is rendered useless basically for 4 months out of the year. And as a fan, me personally, I want the peace of mind of knowing I'm going to go to the game and I'm going to watch the game. Just this last weekend on Saturday, I had this ticket planned for a while to go down. And the whole week, I'm checking the weather forecast, checking it all day. And of course, it was supposed to rain, and it did rain at night. But luckily, they got the game in. There was no threat of rain during the game. But it really wasn't until the night before that I said, okay, you know what? The weather looks like it's a little better. I want to go there with the peace of mind, knowing I have no rain. I went to Arizona. It was 105 degrees outside, and I've never been more comfortable in a stadium with in Chase Field there. I would do it 100%. Granted, PNC Park, most beautiful park in the game, and a roof would completely destroy that vibe.
Don't get me started.
I love PNC. Park. PNC is the best, but
it's not the best.
Oh, I love it. But listen, if you're in a climate like
give me 5 minutes.
Okay, but yeah.
Well, Tom's itching to get in on this.
Yep,
so
go ahead, Tom.
PNC Park, one, completely overrated. They get credit for. They get credit for a skyline they have nothing to do with. Cool, you build a stadium that is open to a city. You shouldn't get credit for anything that's out there. That's bullshit. That's stupid. Also, went there one time for a Met game, and half the concession stands were closed.
Well, it's Pittsburgh. So, nobody goes to the game.
There were a ton of Met fans. There was a holiday weekend. Half the concession stands were closed. It's a joke. It's so overrated. But no, I agree. The stadiums, they need to have retractable roofs. Listen, baseball is the game of the summer. Like I agree with, if we just don't start until April 15th, but even still, that wouldn't help today. It's still raining and cold. Baseball is a warm weather sport. Once we get into October, I get it. We get some cold games in there, but it's meant to be played in the warm. It's meant to be played in the summer. I mean, the Yankees,
which is outdoors.
Yeah, the Yankees had a hail delay on Saturday, which delayed the game an hour and a half. Which, granted, they took advantage of that. And that's the only reason they want to get in Baltimore, because they're an embarrassing franchise currently. But you shouldn't have to worry about that. Even going to games at this time of year, it's kind of miserable. It's football weather. You're all bundled up. If I'm at a baseball game, I want to wear shorts. I want to have a hot dog. I want to drink a beer. I want my sunglasses on. I want to be comfortable. I don't want to be bundled up unless it's a game that matters in October. If it's a game in April against the O's, I don't want to be all bundled up. I want to. It's pointless.
I pulled out my Texas Instrument calculator because I can't do math. It was actually 11-3 on the vote. 11-3. I don't know how to calculate percentages. My tips are horrible. Dan in the Twitter Feed goes, no way. Weather has been an important variable in baseball since day one. Can't take that out of the equation without changing the game, in my opinion.
There's plenty of things since day one of baseball that changed that I think we're better for.
It's an extreme take. I'm actually for the retractable roofs, and it's a little bit of a moot point to kind of talk on to Corey's point here, to talk on Yankee Stadium and Citi Field specifically. These stadiums have been around for 12, 13 years. From an architecture standpoint, you cannot put a retractable roof on stadiums that are meant to be outdoors. But we're talking.
But you could have when they built them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, 20 years from now, sure. But new stadiums, especially in the North, I think should have a retractable roof. I think it'd be great to just have games played on time and no mess around with the schedules, no messing around with pitching. You have stadiums that'll be open for outdoor events. Well, it's technically indoor, but outdoor stadium events during the winter. I mean, come on, how cool. I think of one thing, and people know I'm a huge wrestling fan. Joe knows that, of course. There's a huge weekend in wrestling called WrestleMania. WrestleMania in Yankee Stadium would do wonders for the Bronx. It'd be awesome to see something like that generate so much money for that city and for that weekend.
Once every decade, though. See, I'm in the minority here. Baseball is an outdoor sport. Listen, I totally agree about Minnesota. Yes, it's basically Canada up there. It's cold. It snows until June. That's different. Same with Arizona and certain parts of Texas. It's 1,000,000 degrees out. You don't want people dying in the middle of the baseball game. So I get that. But this is the Northeast. This is, we go outside. But it's good. Little kids go outside. They don't have indoor stadiums. The big leaguers that make them hundreds of $millions can play outside. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, but I want to go. I'm paying almost $100 million to go to this game, and I want to.
I'm paying that much money to go to a baseball game. You're paying $40.
I'm paying a bunch of money to go. I want to be comfortable.
Listen, I get it, but. There's not that many rainouts when you break it down. Maybe
it's not just rainouts. It's games when it's cold. It's rain delays. It's games if people don't want it. If it might rain out. Corey, you said you went to the game Saturday. I'm sure there's a bunch of Met fans who said, I don't know if I'm gonna go. Maybe I'm gonna sell my tickets, or maybe because there's always tickets available unless it's like a big time game. Maybe I'm not.
Joe would say they're not real fans.
Game of, but. Fine, you said they're not real fans. Those are real dollars that the teams aren't making, and I think it's a much better fan experience to be like. Listen,
can you imagine this San Francisco stadium with a dome on it with that gorgeous view, or you imagine Wrigley Field? The windy city in Chicago is windy. I mean, it rains and it's.
Let me check that. Let me check that math, Joe. Windy is windy. That's true. Correct.
You know what I mean? But you imagine Wrigley Field with a dome on it? Like, nobody wants to do that.
Well, again, we're talking retractable roofs. I'm talking about domes. And you're not going to put the roof on because it's windy. We're talking cold.
Chicago's weather is volatile, to say the least. All right, and yes, Seattle, another prime example. It rains 70% of the time in Seattle. Makes sense. But New York doesn't need, first of all, you guys are overestimating how much these stadiums are going to be used for concerts and stuff. New York has 7 other stadiums to put a concert venue
I think it's a nice benefit. I don't think it's
not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
WrestleMania coming in once a decade to Yankee Stadium. Nobody in Yankee Stadium wants wrestling fans in that building anyway. So let's not even go there.
Let's be fair. The Yankees really only care about money, so that's
what we need. Fans getting suplexed out in Monument Park right there next to Babe Ruth.
Steinbrenner is a huge wrestling fan. That's what I heard. Steinbrenner is a huge wrestling fan. He would love to have the main event of WrestleMania next year to be held in the Bronx Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. They held it in MetLife.
Listen, all I'm going to say before we move on from this segment is if they built Citi Field with huge glass walls and a retractable roof, I also have that beautiful view of Flushing Bay and Chop Shop Alley.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are moving on because we could talk about this all night. But if you want to join in on that conversation
from the stadium seats,
you certainly can. That's for sure. If you listen, call it whatever you want. It's crap to me. Anyway, if you want to continue to join us on that conversation, please follow us on Twitter because we had a whole debate on that just last week. But if you'd like to rewatch the entire show or watch any segments and clips that we might post up, please make sure to follow us on YouTube. Again, check out our page for the YouTube link. Everything you want is there. Full episodes. Like the page, subscribe, share it to your friends so you could bullshit or make fun of us